Hello everyone, Rare Model Reviews here, and we got ourselves a bit of a mix unboxing going on. So up top, can't tell from the logo there, USA Gundam Store. On the bottom, P Bandai. So I'm gonna go actually and do the Gundam Store one first, just because I'm biased. I think a lot of the P Bandai stuff's a little more exciting to look at. And I think also you guys might have got a bit of a peek on what this is anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. This is you literally yelling what it is right now. So we got ourselves the Akatsuki. I meant to get this thing a very long time ago, but I finally got around to getting it. I think I got this thing on sale, which is kind of why. Now, I know I've heard a lot of bad things for it, and I actually messed up. At one point, I did see like some sort of metal frame or something on the Gundam Store. I passed up on it, and now I could not find that stupid thing. I don't know why, but from looking at other people's reviews and stuff, honestly, I feel like this thing kind of got a bit of a bad rep. I don't think it's honestly as bad as people say. I'll get into it a little later, but I want to quickly shout out the guy who packed this. Looks like this is, they put their initials NG1. A lot of these inserts, I feel like they're the exact same thing. I swear I've talked about these exact same inserts like 17 times already, so I'm just gonna shout out who packed it and move on. But of course, addressing elephant in the room here. Yes, the Akatsuki does use the real grade strikes inner frame, which was an earlier real grade. So this thing is like, I guess you could say it has structural issues to the point this thing cannot stand. Once you put that backpack on, it's fine without the backpack, but when you put that thing on, it will not stand. Okay, I'm not sure if it's trying to tell me if it comes with a 7, I'm pretty sure it is, or what, but that's one thing I was saying when I said this thing got a bad rep. Yes, it can't stand with that backpack on, but they include an action base on this thing, so technically, with the action base, it holds it up in air too at that. So you would have to have this thing just being vanilla and standing in place. You could at least, even one of those people who like have a lot of kits and you don't like to pose them because it takes up too much room, you at least have it floating in the air, which I think looks a bit more thematic, just it standing up. So again, Bandai, I'm sure, knew this thing had standing issues and included action base, so that's actually pretty good for them because they got pretty lazy over the years and they stopped even freaking including stands with a lot of their kits, whereas they used to a lot of times the older kits or what have you. But for those of you who do not know, this thing is pretty freaking expensive. Also, I mean, this thing came out 2 years ago, 2024. I'm gonna point that out. This thing's pretty expensive, and that's because this thing is gold plated. This is not the little cheap gold plastic. This is actually plated material, so it looks very premium. I'm sure everything on this thing is going to be undergated. And with this being a real grade, I don't know if you guys can tell the difference there, but it's like a different shades of gold. This one's like 24 karat looking gold, whereas the other one's just, I don't know, gold. So very cool. I love that there that they did that for these pieces. It looks very cool. That's honestly something I feel like they kind of skipped out a bit on a lot of the later real grades. Like the earlier real grades, it would be all kinds of different shades of colors. Even with the whites, they do like a white, like a grayish white, and off-white, you know. It definitely had that real grade feeling of, you know, this is how it would look if it was real, you know, with different shades. It wasn't just one shade of color or whatever, or just, you know, it looked like different pieces were welded together and stuff like that. You know, it didn't look as clean as some other more modern kids, I guess you say, are. You know, also going to shout out the parlor, geez, combined words there. The color part separation here. There's a little bit of red, grays, a little bit of white in there. It's very deep black, I want to mention. It's like more of like it's like a glossy black, but still like a deep black. I don't know how else to describe it. We got, of course, the infamous advanced MS joint there for the inner frame. Got a little bit of blue there. It's like kind of a bit of a turquoisey color. Some reds, more of that deep black. Some whites there. The whites definitely for the shield. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is more inner frame related stuff. I could be wrong. And then of course, yep. Okay, yeah. So this is definitely a 7. Then yeah. So they even came with a 7. This is like the latest and greatest action base. I mean, come on. How can you talk crap about this thing when they give you an action-based 7? They didn't even give you some of like the cheap crap. They give you a straight-up action-based 7. This thing looks like it has no, that's a real gray Beam Saber. It's a very deep pink, but yeah, So I'm going to go ahead and put all this stuff back in the box, and then we're going to look in the manual here. So give me a second. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into this thing here. So this is a pretty modern kit. So it's the simple spiel here. They're showing you the runners here, the mass amount of runners. May or may not be some stuff you don't use, how to knit parts correctly. This thing, of course, being modern, everything's translated in Japanese and English. So I'm going to try to pause this on the screen here a little bit for you guys to go read that. So I'm trying to think. This is what the Owashi. I want to say Owashi was what the ground pack, and then the what's the Shinryu? That's the space one. So that's what they only mentioned Kigali there for the pilot info stuff, because technically this is the version Kigali used. Mu did not use the ground pack, only the space pack, which I believe again was the Shinryu. So a lot of times the railgirders aren't very complicated. It's just the fact that they have a lot of small pieces that are a little time consuming, and you got to be really careful with these things as they're extremely delicate. I can go ahead and admit on camera here that I bought a Railgrade Phoenix years ago, and I never even got around to reviewing that thing because I was embarrassed. I actually ended up breaking one piece on the shoulder because me trying to like spin the arm around, because I'm like, can this thing not move? And then it like snapped something in there. It was like a really stiff part, and for whatever reason it wouldn't turn. I'm almost positive I got the other arm to turn, but I just could not get that piece to turn. I think it might have been because I built it before I start turning it, as opposed to turning it before I like attach it to the chest or whatever. So like I said, I'm not even sure if I'll ever even review that thing. I showed it off when I did my review of the Apex for the narrative Gundam, but I've never done a review of it on its own. So now I don't think there's any way for me to fix that thing. The piece I broke in there was like really thin and fragile. And I said, there's no gluing that. Yeah. So I think that thing is like done. So I can already say, because I know a lot of people glaze that unicorn, and I don't see why, because that thing, as far as I could tell, is no better than the Master Grade. It literally took the Master Grade and shrunk it down. It even built like almost exactly the same as it, and the thing was like a brick. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. Half the reason why I even bought the Railgrade over the Master Grade for the Phoenix is because I heard good things about that Railgrade, and me breaking something, trying to get this thing to not literally only be able to move its just limbs like an early. When I say early, I mean from the 1970s style high grade. I think it's even considered a high grade. I'm telling you when I said that thing's articulation is just as bad as the Master Grade. I wasn't kidding. It made me really wonder like how people glaze this thing when it is no better than the Master Grade. It was just literally shrunken down. Only thing I could say the Railgrade did better than the Master Grade was the head transformation. I like the head transformation. The Railgrade better, but that's about it. But well, I really just started talking about the Railgrade, the unicorn, while I was looking at the Akatsuki's box here. But I mean, there's nothing really for me to say besides the fact that it doesn't look too complicated. It's a little small, but again, that's the Akatsuki for it. I can't wait to build this thing and give it a fair review, because again, I feel like people crapping over the kit because it can't stand up. It's ridiculous. There's plenty of kits that can't stand up because of its backpacks and whatnot. You can't review something negative because it can't stand up, especially when it comes with a stand. Let it not be able to stand up and it doesn't come with a stand, and then okay, I'm right with you. But otherwise, like, come on. But we got our last kit here. Now, usually I wouldn't only do two unless it's like 2 Master Grades, but these are 2 very big boxes. That's one thing I didn't stress with the Akatsuki, is this thing's a rather large kit. I'll grab the EWAC here since I already unboxed this thing, so I'm not spoiling what I'm grabbing out here. But look at the size of that. Like, do I need to keep going here? It's literally half the size of the Akatsuki's box. Now, the Railgrades, I get they're a little bit more complicated and all that, but again, and for me to bring out a high grade, and this is another high grade, so I don't think I need to bring the EWACs to make you understand. I mean, this is a high grade, and this is a Railgrade. Railgrade is more complicated. It's basically a mini Master Grade. This is just a straight up high grade, and the box is still enormous in comparison to it. But this is going to be the Messer Type FO2 Mine Layer. Trying to think what's the FO1 type, but This, of course, being P Bandai, the mine layer is literally a little attachment part to, as the name suggests, lay mines. I'm trying to think, was this thing even in the movie? Or is this like an MSV type kit? But regardless, I seen I decided to get it just mainly because of the fact that this thing comes with everything that the standard Messer comes with, but with that mine layer pack. So it made too much sense for me to just get this one as opposed to just the default one. So this thing has a very interesting color scheme to it. I can't even describe what that red is, but it looks very cool. It's kind of like this dusty type of color. It's got this cream color too. Big hand, big outstretched hand, I guess you could say. So I could definitely say that this thing was a lot more intimidating than it actually is. This thing is a really big kit. For some reason, especially around like the unicorn stuff, the kits got extremely big. They already started getting big after Zeta, but they got really big in unicorn. Like, these are master grade size beam sabers that I'm staring at here. It also, before I got interrupted just by that beam saber and me realizing how big this thing's gonna be. This thing is not as intimidating as I thought it was gonna be. Because when I seen the size of this box, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a bit of a project. But now that I'm looking at it, it's like just the typical big high grade thing. It's just a lot of big pieces. It's not a lot of pieces. A lot of pieces where things take a long time to get complicated. Big pieces, it's just literally a bunch of big pieces you slap together, and that's that, you know. So speaking of big pieces, I'm going to put all of these things back, and then we're going to look at this manual here. Very this is more of the modern P Bandai manual here. I want to point that out, where it just gives you this really cheap manual, you know, or as opposed to the older P Bandai stuff, it would give you the manual from the original kit, and then add a little 2-page little thing of all the new stuff that comes with the P Bandai variant. So again, let me stop yapping and put this away for you. All right, so 3 minutes on the clock. Let's finish this thing up at even 15. Just as I expect. I expect to only be able to do 2 in this kit. I'm like literally have a 3rd kit sitting in the back waiting just in case it's a little short. But no, we're not doing that. I say that right now. So one thing I can say, nope, never mind. Every time I say, oh no, it's a normal manual, I see, nope, it's the good old map style manuals I hate. So the chest looks like it's going to be a bit more complex. It's not a breeze to build through this thing. The head is pretty quick though. I've seen faster head constructions, but overall not bad. Arms, not too bad. I know the legs are going to be a breeze to build because the legs is where a lot of the bigger, bulkier parts are, but again, overall not too complicated for you to be able to build both the arms in 1 page. Again, the chest and the body. I'm sorry, the chest and the head in 1 page. Yep, looks like you could build 1 leg per page here. Like, this isn't too bad. Because again, it's just a lot of big pieces, especially for the legs here that you just slap on together and get in there. So overall, not too bad. Waist. And this is with the mine layer stuff, it looks like too. If I'm not mistaken, all you really would do is just take off the mine layer pieces on the back armor. It's just literally a normal messer. I think literally that's like all the mine layer really is. I don't think it's really anything too complicated beside that. Okay, I thought so. This thing does come with 2 beam sabers. That's pretty cool. And that's one thing I could definitely say I admire about a lot of the newer high grade stuff. Just the fact that a lot of the earlier stuff, you'd have like the beam sabers molded into the shield or something. And then they give you like some crappy beam saber effect part of varying degrees that you'd be able to pull out to, like, you know, pose the beam saber. Whereas now we have the technology where you could attach the beam sabers to the shield and then pull them out and then, you know, put the effect part into it. You know, so very cool. Again, this thing, if me breezing through this manual in a minute didn't suggest it, like I said, even though this is a really big kit, it's not that complicated build. Even if you're a newer builder, you got a couple kits under your belt, I think you'd be able to tackle this thing if you really like the messer and get this thing all built up and put on your shelf. But that's gonna do it. I already showed both the Koski and the messer together, so I'm not gonna drag this thing out just for my ending thoughts. Overall, I definitely might just put this thing a bit higher up on my list to build, just because this thing isn't too complicated, and it kind of be nice to have another grunt suit from the Hathaway series in my on my shelf because I only have the Penelope and the Z right now built. But again, thank you guys all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And as always, see you in the next review, unboxing, or video. Take care, guys.